Hi, this is Heidi with Heidi Mine, and this is part 2 of my winter meal prep. If you have not watched part 1, I will go ahead and put a link for that at the top of the video and also in the show notes. These are recipes I got in a recipe guide from this crafty house. This crafty home, and I will also put a link for her website in the description below. So right here I am taking these reusable bags and I'm putting them into the bag holders. This helps when I'm putting all of the ingredients into the bags to be frozen, and I didn't need all of the bags and things. For this particular recipe, it said to break them apart. I really feel like I could have just left the whole thing in one piece and just cut it, but you live and you learn. At first, when I was lining these up on the sheet pan there, I didn't think they were going to fit, and then I realized that they did fit, and I do wish that I would have moved those more center into the pan, but I know for next time. And the pan that I'm using, I think is actually called a bar pan. It is Pampered Chef, and it is supposed to look that dark. I have had that pan for almost 30 years, and that is a very well-seasoned pan. It is my very favorite pan to bake on. I always do cookies in this pan. So for this particular recipe, it's basically pre-made ham and cheese sandwiches, and then it has kind of a dressing that goes on top of them, and you bake them, and then you can put them in the freezer for later. I like ham. I don't love turkey. My kids really only like turkey, so I probably should have made at least half of these with turkey, but I really wasn't sure if they were going to like them with the dressing that goes on top. My youngest daughter did try the sandwiches, and she said she didn't like them because she didn't like the dressing, and my oldest would not even try the sandwiches because she says she doesn't like them. And here I had a really hard time getting the dressing open, so I decided just to go ahead and cut into that seal at the top. I really could not get that lid off. And I know that it's winter, and yes, I am wearing capris, but I knew I was going to be using the oven, and my kitchen heats up a lot when the oven goes on, so, and I was moving around a lot, so it didn't really make a difference. So this kind of buttery dressing mixture goes on top of the sandwiches. there really wasn't like a description about how much I was supposed to use. I assumed that I was supposed to use all of it. So I just really slathered it on the sides, obviously on the top. This is the point where I wished I had centered the sandwiches better, because as I was trying to coat this onto the sandwiches, it was dripping onto this counter. For this recipe, it actually had called for, I think it said baby red potatoes, and I could not find them. I didn't really want to keep shopping around, so I just went ahead and got regular red potatoes, and I just weighed out what it should have been for the smaller size. I used the scale a lot for this round of meal prep. Something that I found out right when I was meal prepping was that you should not freeze raw potatoes. You should parboil them before freezing. So this recipe does not say to parboil the potatoes. We were given a soup recipe, a frozen soup from a church, and when I went to cook it, the potatoes were black, and apparently it's something with the sugars and the carbs. If you freeze potatoes when they're raw, they will turn black on the outside. And I couldn't find a definitive answer whether or not that meant they were bad. Most websites said that it was still okay to eat them, but of course black potatoes is visually unappealing. So I did not end up eating those, eating that soup. I just couldn't do it. And because I didn't make it myself, I didn't know if they had left the potatoes out or what the situation was. So unfortunately that was a waste of that recipe, and I did not want these recipes to go to waste. So I thought I had switched the camera over to show that I was parboiling them, but apparently I did not. These are still more onions from that first bag. I think I ended up finding 2 onions, possibly 3, but definitely 2 onions that were just completely rotten in the bag. So I was kind of bummed about that. And it gives me pause to want to order to get bags of produce like this, because generally they give you a better deal. Yeah, and you can kind of see how brown that one was. You are getting a better deal financially when you're buying in bulk like this, but I don't know. I kind of feel like if you have to throw things away without being able to use them, then maybe you're not really getting the best deal after all. So at this point, from all of the onion cutting the previous meal prep session, I was like, I don't want to cut any more onions. So I just did really big rough chops to put them in, because I knew all this stuff is going to cook down, so that was fine. And I think one of the recipes is a stroganoff. I did have to pause the video a few times. There were just long periods where I walked away, and I don't know if I was trying to find things in the refrigerator or in the drawer. So every once in a while you'll see something magically pop on screen. like this strange looking cutter here, which is one, again, I have a lot of favorite Pampered Chef tools, and this is really one of them. I think they called it a rock and chop. They did that a lot where they put an N in the middle of something. But I love making these crinkle cut carrots because they just go really fast. So here I finally panned over to the boiling water. Oh, and I did those. So those are the finished sandwiches when they came out. I think they're really good. I have been eating them for lunches instead of dinners. So unfortunately, those should have been like 2 nights of dinners, and now they're not. But they have been really good for lunches. Like, I just pop them into my toaster oven and heat them back up, and I like them. I have to look at what the price difference was in mushrooms. I really don't like cutting mushrooms. So I think I paid a little bit extra, and I just bought pre-sliced mushrooms. And I was fine with that because I just feel like with mushrooms, it just takes forever to sit there and slice them. I had my sink totally cleaned out, and then as I started cooking, the kids were coming in and getting things and started putting things in my sink. So I'm pretty sure I just dumped out the boiled potatoes, and then I put them in cold water. I did not think ahead, and I didn't have any ice. So really, when you parboil any type of vegetable, you really should put them in ice water to stop them from cooking faster. These cooked a little more than I wanted them to, but I think they're supposed to end up as a soup, so it'll be fine in the end, as long as they're not black. I did not have to open as many cans this time around, so I was very thankful for that. That first day of prep was intense. Oh, nope, my hand was cramping up there. I think my strainer was dirty at this point, and I just did not feel like finding it and cleaning it, so I just went ahead, and the water was like lukewarm, so I just dumped it. And then, so what I'm doing here is I weighed a bowl with all the potatoes in it, and then I just kind of dump until I get half of the weight, and then dump the rest in the other bag. I think that, like, in the recipe they say just to eyeball it, but some of the pieces were bigger than others, so I already have the scale. Figured why not use it? So here I had to kind of jump ahead. As I was washing some of those dishes, we found that one of the pipes under the sink had come loose. So I had a ton of water under my sink, hence the red towel on the floor, burgundy towel. The kids had to come out and help empty out underneath my sink and move the towels down. But since I had already started prepping, I wanted to go ahead and get that all finished because I didn't want to leave. I didn't have any meat out at this point, so it's just raw vegetables, but I didn't want to leave all that sitting out on the counter, just because that's where you get bacteria from. So for this particular recipe, they did not, like, you make the sauce, but you make it separately. So what you saw in the first part of this was the first one that I made, and then I dumped it in, and then this is me making the amount for the second bag. And I really don't, I know there was like honey and soy sauce and maybe ketchup. I can't remember now. It was kind of weird, but it smelled really good. And that's just a little silicone spoon that I actually got when I purchased some egg bite molds for my Instant Pot. I think it was really like a baby food starter set. So it had like a silicone spoon, and that thing has been awesome. The bay leaves were not coming out of that jar. So what I keep going to the other side for, it's not just the bags, I also have the recipes over on the other side. I did end up making a little bit more room on my counter space, but it's just, there's just not enough room in this kitchen. So hopefully the next time I do meal prep, I will have my kitchen island set up. It moves, it's on wheels, so that way I can have all of these bags set up on the island and just turn around to put the stuff in them. I feel like this second half of the meal prep went a lot faster. I don't know if that's because one of the recipes was those sandwiches, so there really wasn't a lot of like prep to it. That one was very quick. But even these other recipes they just felt a lot faster. Up until I got to the raw meat part of it. And some of these containers were just giving me so much trouble. I did way overbuy on the garlic. I still have a ton of garlic in my refrigerator, which I know I will use, but it was a lot of garlic. So one of these is a soup and it needed, I think it's wild rice. And I could not find anything bigger than a third of a cup measuring cup. And so I'm like measuring it out, and then there was more rice in there than what it said. So I just made it work. I didn't want to have leftover wild rice. I was never going to do anything with that outside of this soup. So this is my Costco chicken. I do like these because they're not individually wrapped, but basically there's 2 chicken breasts in each package. The only thing is each package does not have its own weight. It just has one large weight for the whole thing. So I was kind of weighing each package to see how much was in it, because each recipe takes a different amount of chicken. And I have to say that this was one of the easiest parts right here. When it's a soup, it was just asking for like a whole breast of chicken, and I just had to throw it in the bag. So that was awesome. And this clear and yellow cutting mat, those are also, I mean, it has the Pampered Chef logo on it, but those are also Pampered Chef. I think I had a set of 3 originally. I know there's a red one and there's a yellow one, and I think there used to be a green one, and that one's long gone, unfortunately. But I do like those because this one I always use for chicken. So I usually just set it on top of the counter, or I set it on top of another cutting board, and I'll still sanitize the cutting board underneath it, but I just like this particular cutting mat because if I was going to cut up all of this chicken, I can just pick up the whole cutting mat and kind of dump it in because it's flexible. So I like that. I think I do that at some point, but not yet. I think we were getting close to dinner time, so my kids keep coming back into the kitchen. I'm very particular about how I do things with chicken. I'm constantly washing my hands with hot water and soap and washing everything down. So I think I cut some of it out because I stand there for a while to wash my hands. I think I got about halfway done closing the bags, like here, and I started to realize that I didn't put labels on the bags. It might have been when I started putting them away in the freezer, but I didn't end up labeling any of these bags. I can see, like even now, they're frozen in my freezer and I can see them, so I don't think I'll have a problem. Again, this is another one. I think I just got to throw the chicken in and call it done. So this part I really edited a lot of it out. The recipe called for boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and I don't think I will ever buy them again. I couldn't find them at first in the stores. Nobody had them except organic, and it was really, really expensive per pound. And I found these in the freezer section in the bags, and so I bought them. But then when I opened them, they're supposed to be boneless, skinless, and there was like very large pieces of skin all over them. There was bone in quite a few of them, and there was just so much like fat in them. So the recipe for these did not actually even have me cutting the chicken, but I did it anyway. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to get notifications for new videos.